مباشرة إلى عرض بعنوان وظائف المستقبل في سلسلة الإمداد، يقدمه الأستاذ فادي غاني، المؤسس والرئيس لشركة مورجان انترناشيونال.
All right, first I'd like to thank the organizers for giving me this chance to talk about the future of work. What are the skills gap? What is required to maintain our jobs? So the way I'm going to go about the presentation is I'm going to give you facts, what's happening out there, not only in the logistics, but across various industries. Then I'm going to focus more on the logistics, what are the trends in the workforce, and finally I'm going to talk a bit about the skills gap. I always like to start this with two famous people. One is called Stephen Hawking, who famously quoted, and he's very well known when it comes to the digitization and the technology, said AGI could spell the end of human race. For some people, what's going on in terms of technology is the end of human race. And he further goes and says, companies are no longer interested in who we are and what value we bring. We're just a number, and they're interested in the predictive value, what we bring to those companies. And another famous, Elon Musk, you all know him. He is the founder of Tesla. He even quoted publicly saying that, mark my words, the technology is more dangerous than the nuclear bomb. So there are two sides to the story. Is this something good? The direction we're taking, is it good or is it bad? On the other side, for a lot of other people, they say no. The future looks good, and it's going to brighten the future, and it's good for the humans, what's going on. So there are two sides of the stories. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to give you examples just to get started, just to get the thoughts going. Now, what's impacting all of this? If we look at the global environment, there are various factors that having impact on the work, the technology. And it's forcing us to go in certain directions. So if we look at the society and the individuals, we're talking about the changing work environment. Now, a lot of people in the world now work, at least in the Western world or in North America, the alternative workforce. There's no people working in offices now, they're all working remotely. That's around 40%, they work out of homes. We look at the growing diversity. Everybody with globalization now, you can be working with various people from different cultures, from different backgrounds. A lot of the generation now, they talk about the work-life balance. So people want to work in companies that provide work-life balance. There's a demographic change and income uncertainty. This is across all the world. Then we look at the technology, what's going on in technology. So we're talking about the converging technology. We're talking about big data, data science, and digitization of production. Not only of production, digitization of everything. If you look into companies, publishing companies, in the US now, they're struggling. A lot of them are restructuring because nobody is buying books anymore. Everybody is reading information in a digital format. Then if we look at the business environment, so there's a change in economic perspective. So there is a shift towards Asia. So we're talking India, China. They're having weight now globally. At the same time, we're talking about ecosystem. It's not only about producing a product, it's creating that value around the various ecosystems for that product. So we see the Apple ecosystem, the Google ecosystem, the IBM. It's not only in technology, it's across all products, even in the healthcare industry. Resources, so there's more and more scarcity of resources, and we're talking about sustainable resources for the future. And lastly, it is the mix between politics and interference in the business and the trade. We all know about it. We can see it more and more visible. The next wars that's going to happen, it's not going to be the army. It's going to be digital war. And we can see the trade wars that's going on. All of this is changing the work perspective and what we do and how companies are moving forward. Just for some people, this might look normal. We live it every day. But go back 15, 20 years ago. Tell somebody that I'm going to create the largest taxi company in the world, but I'm not going to own one single car. Or I'm going to create the largest hotel in the world, but I'm not going to own any property. And the largest media in the world does not produce any content. Or the largest retailer that does not own any stock. Now for us, we take it for granted. But if we look historically, if you tell somebody 15, 20 years ago, they think that you are insane. But for now, we take it for granted. So things are changing. Jobs that didn't exist 15, 20 years ago, now we take it for fact. Digital marketing specialist. If you look before, this does not exist. That title did not exist. App developer. Now, people talking about apps. Self-driven car tester, blogger, vlogger, big data analyst, digital strategist, cloud service specialist. All those titles and jobs and works, they did not exist before. So for those who have children, my advice to you, and that's based on a lot of research, is that we always want to advise our children what is the best career path for them. In today's world, you cannot advise your children what career path they should take, because probably by the time they graduate, there's going to be a lot of new job openings and titles that don't exist and we don't know about them today. Now, consider this. If you are an employer, you can hire an entity that works 24 hours a day. They don't get tired. They don't require health insurance. They don't require vacation. They don't require an increase in salary, no insurance. Would you hire that company? Would you hire that person? Honestly, a lot of people say, no, it's not human, but companies, if you look at bottom lines, company would hire that entity. And it's more and more happening. This is a research conducted by McKinsey, which is alarming. It specifically states that 375 million workers around the world, they have to switch occupational categories and learn new skills. So what's happening is that we're not saying you're going to lose your job. The way you do your job, you have to reskill and you have to change the way you do things. And 60% of those jobs, one-third of them, one-third of those functions that you take will be automated. So if you're working in let's say you're an accountant, you're working in accounting, a lot of the skills that you need now, in the future, they will be automated. So you have to do things differently. It goes further, research done, this is with McKinsey as well, says 87% of employees believe that technology, like artificial intelligence and machine learning, it will improve the work experience, and they are willing to invest the time to learn new skills. So the public in general, people are willing to invest to learn new skills so they can adapt to the changing world. 50% of chief human resource officers, they believe that cognitive computing will change and transform HR. It's happening. As we speak, it's happening. 2 years ago, Amazon got sued because it was favoring men over women in the recruitment. And it wasn't human beings doing the selection. The first selection was done by artificial intelligence. People would send the CVs, it's scanned by certain machinery, technology, and they were doing the selection before they go into the interview. Those companies receive thousands of CVs. So now the recruitment is being done by the first stage. A lot of the scanning is done by machines. Over and above, I'll just give you an example. I was in a conference a couple of months ago in the US. In the US now, the trend in the HR, there's no more sitting face-to-face with your boss or with the head of HR and discussing your skills and your performance. It's all automated. They know the job, what are the tasks. They're using smart data to see how long it's taking you the task on the computer, monitoring. where you move in the offices, and it's comparing to specific standards that they have. So it's all done in an automated fashion. Even if you want to inquire about the company laws, vacation days, everything is done through an application like Siri. You ask the question, you get the answer. So not only, so it's even in HR, and they call it the human analytics now, it's moving fast. And already 41% of companies are using this technology in some sort of fashion. Now, I've mentioned this indirectly, and this is, it says, by one popular estimate, 65% of children entering primary school today will end up working in jobs that don't exist today. We don't know what they are, and nobody knows what they are. I've shown you before, and this trend is going to be going in that direction and at a much progressive rate. So this is the research by Deloitte. We are moving into augmented workforce. So Deloitte is a bit on the other side. They say 50% of jobs will be replaced by technology. But they say is that the future is going to be a blend between human beings working alongside of technology. So when we talk about augmented workforce, it's the blend of human employees and technology working on tasks together. So I give you a task, the technology or robotics or whatever is going to be your colleague working on the same task. And probably manual tasks would go to automate them, and you will be working more on a different task that brings of a higher value, which I will address them very shortly. Now, before we talk about what you need to do to prepare for this, so what should you do? Are you going to lose your jobs? What skills you should be focused? Let's look a bit about the supply chain, what they are talking about trends. And this is research done by Apex, one of the largest associations globally in the US. And they're going to tell you what are the trends in the supply. But here are some current facts. Amazon and Kiva, they carry now 50% more inventory, and their processing time is 1/5 of processing time. Ross Intelligence, which is a software for lawyers, they are processing millions and billions of law documents in seconds. So the way they do it and the information they get, it's also being automated. NASA now, they train astronauts on 3G using virtual reality. Boeing, they're using augmented reality to build planes to reduce errors by 50%. General Electric now, all their turbines and engines are connected directly with the manufacturing, so they know they can project if there will be any issues with their equipment. And GM, they're using the Oculus, which is produced by Facebook, to design cars globally. They have their design teams globally using the Oculus as if they're in one team to design the cars. So things are not the same. And if we want to progress, we need to learn about these skills, and we need to focus on specific areas that machines cannot do. So in supply chain, the way things are moving, there are 5 main elements that are impacting it. It's the Internet of Things, it's robotics, machine learning, artificial intelligence, and computer recognition and analysis. These are the main 5 trends globally when it comes to supply chain logistics. If I look briefly on each of one, when we talk about Internet of Things, we're talking about devices connected together. 3 years ago, there were around 13 billion devices connected together. Today, there's more than 65 billion devices connected together. So we're talking about the fleet of trucks connected to the warehouse, connected to the vendor, the supplier. Everything is talking together. So 2 impacts when it does here. Its operational efficiencies will be enhanced, and revenue opportunities will identify new revenue opportunities. So when we talk about operational efficiencies, what are they? We're talking about asset tracking. So what I mean by that, GPS read on various machines where you track everything from the floor, warehouse, all the way to the store. Everything is being tracked. We're talking about data of stored. When your equipment is moving or your stock is moving, you know the temperature, what freight they were in, how much time it spent in cargo, how much time it took to fly off your customers. It reaches the customer, how long it took them to sell it, to turn it around. All that data can be connected and you can have that information. This will have a tighter grip on quality and time of deliveries so you don't miss deadlines, and in projecting and forecasting your data for production, and ability to locate objects, containers, and personnel. When you connect everything, you have a very good audit trail across all the board, so you can project if there's any issues that's going to happen. They're talking about vendors' relation. When we talk about supply chain, a lot of people don't understand the cost to maintain good relationship with vendors. This is the key area. It has a hidden cost. So by tweaking the deliveries on the go, by identifying hidden vendor costs for that relationship, and attention to your vendors, how they're handling all of those aspects, all of the supplies you're providing them, it leads to a better relationship, and where you reduce cost. Definitely forecasting and inventory, more accurate inventories. It's way better projection and forecasting than human brains can process, and you will never miss a deadline. Then we talk about connected fleets. Shipping containers, delivery trucks are all connected, faster delivery, and scheduled maintenance. So even the maintenance, you can know if the machinery is going to break down. So at least you take proactive measures where you don't incur the cost of downtime. The revenue opportunities, we all know it, people who use Facebook and Instagram, is that they can track your buying habits, the trends associated, and they can have a more focused, lasered marketing towards your needs. And the most important is it allows customers to know the origins of product. Just to give you an example, Alibaba in China, they started a chain of supermarkets. You walk into the supermarket, let's say you're buying lettuce from the supermarket. You can scan the lettuce. When you scan it, you know where it was implanted, how it was shipped, when it received to the store, and you can find out who other people who bought that lettuce. And at the same time, it scans, you know, the history, the vendors who work on it. And more suppliers now, or vendors, are very cautious about who are the suppliers are and how they're dealing with their employees. So there's more and more corporate governance going on around this. That's the first trend, the Internet of Things. We talk about robotics. Now, when we talk about robotics, immediately when we think about robotics, we think about car industry, manufacturing cars. This trend has gone away. So in North America, companies that have received robotics is the food and consumer goods, around 48%. We're talking plastic and rubber, around 37%, science, 31%, and electronics, the remaining. So when we talk about robotics now, the term we use is cobots. What is cobots? It's collaborative robots that work hand in hand with human beings, sharing the same workforce. It's happening. And the technology became cheap. It's not very expensive. It's easy to program. It's fast to set up. It's flexible and safe. Cobots can take more dull and dangerous tasks. So if you are in a work environment, the routine tasks can be delivered to cobots, where humans can focus more on the creative functions of the job. And currently, I'll give you an example, is Ford. They're using cobots to install shock observers on their cars. Amazon fulfillments they're using cobots where they reduced the fulfillment from 1 hour to 15 minutes. And supermarket Ocado as well, they fill orders, you put the order and the cobot goes and bring your stuff. So it's already there, it's not expensive tools that they are using. Then we talk about the third aspect is the machine learning. When we talk about machine learning, we're talking about large, diverse data, and that will help us in forecasting our inventory. It helps us identify new trends in supply chains and influential factors that we can address. It definitely enhances the delivery and the performance and minimize suppliers' risk. And of course, predictive performance. I'm not talking only in production, but critical elements within the supply chain. And the last thing is the visual patterns. There's no more need for human beings to go and inspect with the face detection and everything, that technology, we can have the machine learning inspecting certain goods. How many of you, sometimes you're on a website and in order to authorize you for security, they ask you press on the street signs, or where's the cars press, you do it. For us, the general public think this is done because of security reasons. In reality, it's not only security. They are using us for machine learning. When millions of people around the world saying, if you see this sign, you press on it, this is a car, they're using all that feedback from human beings for machine learning. Now, the other aspects of machine learning is gaining greater intelligence with related technologies to lower your inventory levels, operational costs, and quicker response time. And it gives you end-to-end visibility between supplier and vendor, and which creates transparency and audit trail. The fourth thing is artificial intelligence. Average time spent by somebody working in supply chain, 55 hours is manual, paper-based process and checks, 39 hours chasing invoices, this is a week, 23 hours responding to suppliers' inquiries. If you take that, you multiply it by year, it's 65,000 hours. Using artificial intelligence, you can eliminate all that time and cost. Already IBM, Google, and Amazon have already released products and supply chain using the artificial intelligence. We talk about chatbots now. Again, when it comes to procurement, they call it ProcuBot. It's a technology they're using where placing orders, sending notifications, and filing the invoices is all done by chatbots. We're talking about machine learning for supply chain planning ahead of time, forecasting, optimized supply chain decision-making, and optimized delivery of goods. And machine learning is being used in warehouse management across all the various entities. Proper warehouse inventory-based management, or forecasting engine, and learning with a predictive intelligence. Automating of vehicles for logistics and shipping. So eventually we're going to reach driverless cars that can drive 24 hours at 25% of the cost, less accidents, more accurate. We're talking about natural language processing, the barriers in language. Those machines can eliminate that barrier, and it will streamline the auditing, compliance, and governance, and predictive analytics for supplier selection. Choosing your supplier is a very critical element throughout the supply chain, and it enhances supply chain sustainability, ethics, and eliminate any risks. It's better visibility on supplier assessment, audits, and credit scoring, and it turns passive data into active data. So these are the trends in the world of supply chain. Now the question is, what can you do about it? So a lot of our jobs will be changing. The way in every industry, whether you're accounting, doctor, it's changing. So what do you do? How are we going to fit? So if you look at surveys conducted on the skills gap, The focus is no longer on technical skills because any company can deliver to you the technical skills. The focus now is moving into the soft skills. I'm talking analytical skills, I'm talking adaptation, thinking, analyzing. These are the skills where the employers for the future will be focusing on. And already in the Middle East, a lot of that trend started. E&Y, which is an audit firm now, which is present all over the Middle East, I received the call from them. They want to hire accountants, but they don't want them accounting major. They want them engineer major to work in accounting because they can train those engineers to become accountants, but they use their analytical skills, which brings a value added for the firm. So all of this. So you need to learn about these technology words. You need to focus on the skills areas robots cannot do, acquire technology language, and engage in lifelong education. So when we talk about understand technology, it's not one size fits all. Technology is limited, cannot think for itself, and the cost of the maintenance. But you need to be aware about it. If you are in project management, you need to know how to use a project management software. Nobody will hire you if you're not exposed to project management software. So whatever industry you are in, you need to learn about those terms. Then build the skills areas robots cannot. And these are done by, this research is done by PwC actually. And they say the skills for the new employers where you need to focus on is critical thinking, creativity, imagination and vision, physical skills certain computers cannot do, the management of the technology, and empathy and communication. But number one comes critical thinking and adaptive, being able to change and adapt to the new working environments. This is so the employers are really hiring now the attitude rather than your technical experience. So only companies that can master both the technical and social are set out to succeed in the future. Let me give you, when we talk about acquiring technology, it's not about being a computer engineer. It's about, like I've said, understanding the platforms, what works for your specific function within the company, keeping up to date with it. The challenge, it's not a one-time thing. You have to practice and learn about it on an ongoing basis, which is shifting now the education from university to the individuals. And we used to learn in order to work. Now we work in order to learn, and it's a continuous. And statistics shows within 5 years, if you don't update yourself, it takes only 5 years to be obsolete. So the shift have changed from the university now to the individual level to learn, adapt, and stay up to date. In the US now, there's a question mark about the universities. Are they doing their job? Because a lot of them are funded. Are university graduates able to find jobs? Are they delivering the skills gap? Unfortunately, academics are not staying up to date. If you're in marketing and you're still learning the traditional marketing, by the time you graduate, you're obsolete. They're talking about digital, SEO, PPC, retargeting, remarketing. If you don't learn those, and those are changing on a yearly basis, you're not going to find a job. So just not to forget few points. 1/3 of new, okay, we said technology is taking certain roles, but it's not the end of the world because 1/3 of new jobs in the United States in the past 25 years were created because of technology. They did not exist. 50,000 jobs have been destroyed in France by the internet in the past 15 years. But against that, there's 1.2 million jobs in France have been created because of the technology. Currently in the US, there's 250,000 shortfall jobs in data science. There's shortfall in data science. So the workforce of the future, what you need to focus on is you have to be able to create new worlds. You need to create yourself. You should be able to be adaptive. If change is happening, you should adapt very quickly. Be able to turn information quickly into decision making. You're being bombed with information left and right. between your emails, your text messages, the employer communication, what you read on the internet. There's a whole amount of information they should be able to process and make decisions out of it. You should be able to work without direct leadership. If you look at companies now, if you look at the Apple and Big, they are small groups, no direct leadership, working remotely and meeting in small groups. And many of the future skills relates to be able to work mind-machine, working together and interfaces. Just this morning, I was reading about Amazon. One of the success stories of them, they canceled, apparently, Jeff Bezos canceled all PowerPoint presentations in meetings. Nobody is allowed to do a PowerPoint presentation because they lose focus. So what they ask for is to write a memo for that meeting, and the senior executive, they take 15, 20 minutes reading that memo and then commenting on it. So things are being done differently. For the workforce experience in the future as well, you have to look at data is becoming the new digital currency. Data is now more important than cash. And your kids' kids, they probably will not see currency. It's going to all turn into digital. Your kids' kids will probably have not seen a driving license. If you show them a driving license, they don't know what they are. They will never experience driving a car. That will change a lot. The insurance companies have to change the way they do things, less accidents. They have to find alternative way to charge premium and make money. People are no longer sitting in their cubicles. Definitely human analytics will be applied in the workforce, and smart offices. So when we talk about smart offices, we're talking about motion, sound, temperature, presence tracking. Everything is being tracked. How much you're laser focused on the job, every task, how much you're doing it. From the minute you walk into the office, all the way, the whole day is being tracked. There's no privacy anymore. So just to give you an idea what they are talking about, new jobs that are opening for the future, they're talking about alternative energy consultant. Because of the scarce resources, new jobs is going to open up called alternative energy consultant. They talk about memory surgeon. There's a whole research. So instead of taking a pill if you have bad feelings or you're depressed, they're talking about operating on you, on your memory to change your memory. They say doctors will no longer do surgeries. So instead, there's going to be medical mentors. So robots will do the surgery on you, and the doctor come in to take care of you after the surgery. So even the health is changing. They talk about productivity counselor. Because of the changing environment and the quick, people need to be shaken up. So there's going to be a post called productivity counselor where they go in, they shake up the company quickly to adapt and be adaptive with the new trends. We talk about future currency speculator. It's all in the digital world. Definitely privacy consultancy. All the companies now require privacy. Privacy is becoming a main issue across the board for individuals and for corporates, and it's becoming more and more complex. Just 2 minutes on this topic. The problem about the data privacy is that governments are not moving ahead with the technology in terms of creating laws. It's still something new for the governments. They're trying to understand it and create laws around it. Even in the US, the most advanced markets in the world, they're still far behind in understanding and creating the laws. And that's why every couple of months we hear about certain issues arising. We talk about corporate disruptor and commercial space pilot. So will human beings be able to find jobs? We believe yes, but your skills have to be focused somewhere else. Are human beings better with the technology? The majority think they are, because it's giving us, extending our life expectancy. There are a lot of benefits. You can work from home. You can work at an older age now. In the US, the average retirement age is 65. You find now people working to the 70 because they can work from home. They don't have to commute from work. So there's a lot of benefits for it. And it all depends how you use it and how you apply it. So it have double impact, but it falls back to how you use that. This is about it. I think I'm on time. I'm done with the presentation. Thank you very much.